everybody, welcome back to the clinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, it's theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for watching on the blog. And a special thank you to those of you watching on Snapchat. Occasionally I will post a Snapchat exclusive question on YouTube. That's to drive traffic to my Snapchat. But I'm on Snapchat daily doing clinical research stuff. Today I got a question actually from Snapchat from someone who is a potential CRA, is a CRA hopeful, and they did really bad in their interview. They bombed their last interview. So I will actually be helping them out with a, I guess, mock interview so that she can do a little better for her next one. But she was asking, one of the questions she was stumped on in particular, and I've done lots of these videos in the past, and I'll continue to do more as we roll out our CRA Academy here, this was one of the questions that stumped her. What is in a monitoring plan, right? And I've never been a monitor, right? So I've owned sites, okay, but I partner with monitors. And in my CRA Academy, one of the instructors, actually the main instructor, is a monitor. So I asked her, and she gave me what a monitoring plan is. So bear with me as I go through this checklist, and I'll kind of break down some of the things and explain them. So there is, first of all, before the study starts, there's CRA and regional site monitors assignments and training. So before the study starts, you're assigned your sites, all right, and then you're trained on the protocol. Once the study starts, actually even before the study starts, they establish certain guidelines such as how you communicate internally with your colleagues, who you report to. You have usually it's a clinical team lead or a project manager or a lead CRA, something of the sort. Different CROs use different job titles. How do you communicate internally? Okay, how do you communicate with your site? How do you communicate to the sponsor, if you even do at all? Because sometimes it's not the CRA that is the one communicating with the sponsor. It's the CRA communicating internally with the CRO. Right? Then you have the monitor visit timelines. So how often are you going out to the site? And which sites do you have? And now it gets even more interesting because we're using risk-based monitoring a lot more now, where we can actually, and I say we, but the CROs can focus more on strategic things that they need to monitor with the sites. So with risk-based monitoring, you don't necessarily need to do 100% source data verification. You can actually focus on what that individual site's risk profile is, and then focus on those things. So if it's a brand new site that's relatively inexperienced, that's a risk profile. If it's an experienced site, but it's a high enroller, meaning they enroll a high volume of subjects, that fits a different risk profile. So once you're assigned your sites, you are then assigned the risk profile if you're using risk-based monitoring for each site, and then you'll have a slightly different monitoring plan for each of your sites if you're using risk-based monitoring. If you're using traditional monitoring, that doesn't apply. In traditional monitoring, the goal is to do 100% source data verification and then everything else, right? In risk-based monitoring, the approach is different. It's not 100% SDV. It's more proactive, stopping problems before they occur, etc. So you're going to have your monitor visit timelines. How often do you go to your site? Usually it's every 4 to 6 weeks. With risk-based monitoring, it could be every 6 to 12 weeks, right? Monitoring visit scheduling and schedule changes. So how do you schedule? How do you communicate your schedulings? How do you change your schedulings if you need to? You need to let the CRO and the site both know. Then you have the Psvs, which are the pre-study visits, and the site initiation visits. You may or may not, depending on your role as a monitor with your CRO, you may or may not be sent out to do the site selection visits for your sites. You may be sent out to do SSVs for other monitors, which these sites will not be your sites. Site initiation visits, usually you are going out for your sites to do the SIV, and I've explained what SIVs are in the past. We cover that. This is an entire module in the CRA Academy. Interim monitoring visits, right? Then you talk about the monitoring plan for the interim monitoring visit. How is the informed consent form going to be reviewed? How's the source data going to be reviewed? We discussed source data verification. How is the EDC, the CRF data, going to be reviewed? CRF is case report form. How are the patient reported outcomes, which are the diaries or the PROs, going to be looked at? Then the closeout visit, right? So this is all part of the monitoring plan. How will the closeout visit be conducted? Who will be doing it? Then they talk about your monitor visit report, both your confirmation letter and your follow-up letters. They usually will give you the template for these letters. How do you manage issues? How do you escalate issues? How do you deal with adverse events and serious adverse event reportings with your sites? You should be somewhat familiar with the IVRS or IWRS, which is what the sites use to enroll, randomize, and withdraw subjects. Should your sites have problems with those, you need to be familiar with it as well. Then investigational product. On this particular form, there's 6 sub-contents about investigational product. IP receipt, IP preparation and administration, IP storage, IP accountability, which is huge. That's another module in and of itself in our CRA Academy. IP accountability and subject dosing compliance, and then IP return and destruction, right? There's a plan for every single one of those things that you as a monitor need to make sure that you implement at your sites and that you follow through until closeout visit, right? And then finally, shipment, ordering, and inventory supply. These are things like lab kits and equipment that the sites may need. So that's what a monitoring plan entails. Don't get stumped in an interview. Just if you start getting nervous, just think of what a clinical trial needs to function, like literally from everything, meaning from SSV to site closeout and everything in between, IP, labs, lab kits, which sites are going to be yours, the monitoring letters, how are you going to treat SAEs and AEs, what kind of source data verification are you doing. This is what a monitoring plan consists of, right? Hopefully this helps. Thank you for watching. Dan from theclinicaltrialsguru.com.